Okay, just do it and chant the commentary.
Alright, so this is The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening Deluxe for the Game Boy Color, which is a remake of the original Link's Awakening for the original Game Boy. In this version, there's added color. There's a brand new side quest and a brand new dungeon. In this run, you will not be seeing any of that. The category that he's running is the main category: no wrong warp, no out of bounds, and no save and quit. Wrong warp is basically going to places where the game is not supposed to take you, and then out of bounds is just clipping into like objects that you're not supposed to clip into. And then of course saving and quitting. Anytime you save and quit in the game, you will spawn at the last area that you entered, and it does save time, but in this run you will not be seeing save and quit being used. So what he just did right there is called Quick Sword, where he damage boosts into the Gordo there, and which allows him to get the sword quicker before the owl starts talking to you. He's still gonna talk to you, but this saves about a few frames over the other strat, where that's used in categories that use save and quit. So now he's going to make his way to the forest, and while he's doing that, he's doing some optimal movement. One of the things that you're seeing him do is, as you can see, he is doing something called wall flipping, which allows him to, like, Link is like a few pixels clipped into objects. It doesn't mean anything, but later throughout the run, wall clipping is gonna be used to break a lot of the game.
Oh, that is really bad. I just have one heart of skill. Okay, have a get hearts. Okay, there is one.
Alright. So that spin slash that you just did right there is a y-axis pixel perfect right there. If you're too high up, you'll fall down the pit. If you're too low, you will not hit the crystals. He picked up 50 rupees so that he could use those rupees for later. And then coming up right here, well, first he's gonna pick up this mushroom for a bit of a small time saver. That's coming up a little bit. And then this is Moblin boosting. There we go. He got it really fast. That's really good. That is really hard to get really quickly, because where the Moblin faces is completely random, and then where he turns is completely random. When he's facing up, he's basically using a shield to bump the Moblin downwards to a certain position, so he can walk across a pit. And while he's walking across a pit, before he falls down, the Moblin shoots an arrow at him to boost him across the pit, so that way he can get the boss key. Otherwise, he has to go out of his way, deliver that mushroom that he just picked up to the witch's hut to get powder, which would be slow. So now that we have rupees, we can go to do some shopping. First off, we're gonna get the shovel. It's 200 rupees. We don't have 200 rupees, so we're just gonna steal a shovel instead. Oh, look at that! You just died. What a scrub. But meanwhile, he's gonna buy a couple bombs, 20 bombs to be more exact, so he could do some cool tricks with bombs later on. And then he's gonna get the bow. It is 980 rupees. We totally do not have that many rupees, so we're going to instead steal a bow. Alright, so now he's gonna make his way to the first dungeon. So, on his way to the first dungeon, he's actually gonna be killing these enemies right here. It looks semi-arbitrary, but in this game, there are these power-ups called Piece of Power and Guardian Acorn, where if you kill a certain number of enemies, then one of those power-ups will drop. In this case, you don't want Guardian Acorn, because Guardian Acorn only increases your defense. So what he's trying to do is try to kill like at least 30 enemies in order to get Piece of Power. You won't get Piece of Power in this dungeon, but Piece of Power is used a few times.
The reason, well, And the moment when you get a piece of power is in the second dungeon. That is because you need to kill two of the enemies. Forget it. That is the reason of why you cannot get it in this dungeon.
Yeah, there's just not enough enemies.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Alright, so he's gonna get the Rock's Feather here in this dungeon, and the Rock's Feather allows him to jump. So this is the second Zelda game where you actually have a jump button, which is really cool. In fact, the Rock's Feather is an extremely broken item because it's gonna allow us to do a glitch right here. Well, first off, he's doing what is it? Mushroom strats? I'm not too familiar with it.
Well, the mushroom strat there is used for clipping the wall below, and then do super jump, forget the boss key quickly. That is
so
a
when you're-
faster strat.
Yeah, so when you clip into a wall, you can use the Rock's Feather, and then you can, and then while you're in mid-air, you can use your arrow or a few other weapons that work for this, and then you can just jump over certain objects. Like you just saw a few times earlier, he just jumped over a line of blocks. Otherwise, he has to go around the dungeon. And so super jumping is used a lot. It's a very broken technique. Earlier, he just fought two really hard bosses. The game does not expect you to have arrows this early on, so the arrows just kill the mini boss in 2 hits, and then he fought Moldorm, which is the first boss, the first major boss. And he's a lot easier in this game than in A Link to the Past.
Talking about the Moldor, there is another 2 bosses from A Link to the Past in this game. Actually are the first 3 bosses in A Link to the Past, the Moldor, the Mola, and Armos Knight. It's just a reference of that game. Okay.
Yeah, a really cool thing about this game is that there's this game has a lot of homages to a lot of other video games. Like you just saw earlier, there was Bow Wow the Chain Chomp. The moblins here, they look like Blastoise from Pokemon. Marin kind of looks like Zelda. Terran looks like Mario. You'll be seeing a few more of those later. So with this route right here, now he's going to go to the Witch's Hut and to get magic powder. There's another alternative route where you can play the trendy game to get powder that way, so you can skip having to get that mushroom. But this route that Black is doing is about 6 seconds faster than that route.
Oh, okay. Good the boost.
Nice, avoided the heart piece right there. If you get that heart piece, you lose about 3 seconds. In like almost every category, except for 100%, you have to avoid that heart piece. And it's called the heart piece of shame. Alright, so this is the Moblin fight right here. So he's gonna go for...
That was a good pattern.
Pretty cool. Oh, nice. Going for a nice 2-cycle strat right there. And then now he gets Bow Wow. Previously, we used to have to return him midway into the run, but we never return him now because it's just you have to go out of your way to do that. And also, Bow Wow does some very interesting things later on. Alright, so this is a block clip. I don't really know exactly how to describe it, but basically when you touch an object that you cannot interact with because you don't have the right item, then you have about a frame or two. I think it's 1 frame where you can buffer a movement. so that you can basically go through the object, which is what you saw when he went through that rock in order to get up to this dungeon quicker. And this is Piece of Power. So with Piece of Power, not only do you gain more attack, but you also gain a little bit more speed. So in this case, since he's doing a lot of walking around, Piece of Power is very helpful in here, so that he can, you know, get through this dungeon a bit quicker.
I think probably the Piece of Power save around of 5 seconds in this dungeon. I don't remember exactly. But other dungeons than Dungeon 5, in that dungeon can save a lot of time just by getting the Piece of Power. It is very useful.
Yeah, in Dungeon 5 saves a lot of time.
Okay. Okay, nice.
Yeah, so this is a newer route to Dungeon 2 right here. It's a little bit harder than the other route that some other people would take. Alright, so you have to fight these enemies in a particular order in order to spawn the boss key here. Sometimes that style post can be a jerk, but thankfully he got a good pattern for that. So normally you're supposed to grab that pot right there in order to get that elevator to raise downwards. But it was found recently that you can actually carry a bomb instead, and it saves a little bit of time. So this is the genie fight. This genie fight is very technical and also kind of difficult. So the first phase right here, he just has to wait for his fireballs to the genie's gonna be shooting fireballs at him. Then he's going to clip into the wall, which breaks the pot in one hit, and then with a very precise bomb arrow right there, he just beats the second phase in one hit. And that was a really good dungeon too.
Yeah. A few mistakes, but it was good. It's okay. Okay.
Alright, so yeah, again, he wall clips over to jump over those flowers, so that way he doesn't have to wait for Bow Wow to eat those flowers. I guess I forgot to mention that how long Bow Wow takes to eat those flowers is completely random. It can vary from like a few seconds to enter Dungeon 2.
Yeah, sometimes the Bow Wow can ruin your runs just because he don't want to eat the flower.
Yeah.
I think one time he ate the flower 1 minute later or something like that. It was horrible.
Oh really? I don't think I've had that ever happen. All right, so this is Villa Skip right here. So Villa Skip, as you can see, what he's trying to do here is he is pausing on the same frame that he falls down in a pit, and that allows him to screen transition right here, and then he can dig up the spot which looks like a golden leaf, but it's actually the key to Key Cavern, the next dungeon. And then he's gonna do a similar trick, Villa Escape, where if you screen transitions and then like the object, like if you can't walk on the object, which in this case like the first object was like that grass right there, then it just sends him to the next tile that he can walk on. So that's how he's able to escape there. Normally, there's this really long side quest where you have to help Richard on his quest to give him his golden leaves in the Canela Castle, which is about 7 minutes. So this is like easily the biggest skip in the whole game. So this is Key Cavern, Dungeon 3, and this dungeon is, as you see, he's killing these enemies right here. He's going to hopefully get Piece of Power either on this screen or the next screen. Okay, he's gonna get on the next screen. Okay, and there it is. And this is gonna make this next trick a little bit easier to go for. So this is called Dodongo Skip. Oh, whoa! I have not seen that method of Dodongo Skip.
That is the fastest way for do the long skip. That's like a run of 20 frames or something like that. So it's good going for that in Optimus runs.
So Dodongo Skip, basically you have to do a very particular super jump right there, and the timing has to be specific. Otherwise, if you miss time, if you actually do it wrong, then you can soft lock. You can get stuck inside the blocks and soft lock the game.
Come on, dude. Okay.
You can also save and quit to get out if you get stuck, but since this is no save and quit, that is run over. That strat where he went underneath the thwomp there saves about a quarter second over the easier way where you bonk on the thwomp. And now there's a slime eye, and with Piece of Power, this fight saves a handful of seconds. And that was a good fight.
Fun fact about the different versions about Link's Awakening. In Link's Awakening from Game Boy, you can skip in these cutscenes, the instrument cutscenes. That save you around of 20 seconds in that version. In the Edge version you can do that, but it's harder to do that. So, and also you need another items for do the instrument cutscene skip. You need the ocarina and the mushroom, and that is pretty slow in the road. So for that reason that people don't go for that.
Yeah, so that's used more often in the original Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. So what he did right there was a bomb trigger. If you use a bomb and then transition, and then screen transition on the next frame, then it starts. Then you use a bomb to trigger cutscenes, and this is utilized a lot. That one that he did right there only saves about a couple seconds, but there are other significant ones later on.
Okay.
Alright, so here's a fairly recent route. So in previous routes we would go downwards from the grotto that he went through, but this saves about maybe 20 to 26 seconds, and unfortunately this is a bit of a harder route than what the previous routes used to be, because you would have you're at significantly less hearts than in previous routes. Alright, so this is the Armos Knights fight, and what he just did right there is bootstrats, which is a very cool way to kill the Armos Knights. Previously, you know, people would use feather and sword to defeat this guy, and then in 100% people would use arrows, but it was found that using sword and boots kills him pretty quickly. So he wants to be careful here. It is really easy to take damage, and those Armos statues basically they do 2 hearts of damage, and so when you're at 6 hearts right here, it's really easy to die. Okay, so what he did right here is called Jesus jumping. It's similar to pit buffering to do Villa skip, but with water. So if you pause on the same frame that you're about to fall in water, then you can perform another jump. In this case, if you do that when you're on the edge of the screen, you can transition down. We can transition like what he did there. There's a big Jesus Jump section after this dungeon, and you'll see more of what Jesus Jumps are like. Alright, so this is Face Shrine. Face Shrine is probably the most luck-based dungeon in the run, and you'll see in a little bit.
And also I just got the piece of power in this dungeon. Well, it's faster. You can save a few seconds with a piece of power. And also
Doesn't it also depend on how many things Bow Wow eats on your way to Dungeon 6, whether you get or not?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, it's some people don't really route in piece of power for Dungeon 6 because it just really depends on how many things Bow Wow eats. So this is the tile room. There's not really a whole lot to say. You can't really do anything to speed it up. So the auto scroller. One of the really cool things I like about watching Link's Awakening speedruns is especially like the top runners. They are able. You're seeing them like ranging their items around. And that's because in Link's Awakening, the items are not in the same spot like in a lot of other Zelda games. Oh, whoa. Alright, so
no.
unfortunately that is a soft lock right there, so he has to save and quit in order to get out of there. So that's unfortunately a pretty big loss. So he just has to make his way through back to where he left off. Is that strat new, by the way?
No. That is not a new strat.
So,
of course, I need the bomb here. That is so bad.
So unfortunately, not only did that was very unfortunate for like losing time, but also anytime you save and quit or die, then you have to well, it resets your kill count for a piece of power. So now he has to improvise on where he's gonna get his kills back. Alright, so coming up as horse heads, probably the best part of this dungeon. So basically you have to you just throw two of these horse heads and you have the 50-50 chance on whether or not these line up right. So great game. How many tries was that?
4 tries.
4th try? Okay, that's not bad.
Okay.
Alright, so this is Facade, very hard boss. You can actually do some damage to him before the boss begins. Before the fight begins. So he just laid 3, so he already did 3 damage. It takes 5 bombs to beat him. And he's just laying bombs at the moments where like Facade's hitbox spawns. And there we go. Yeah, so aside from the soft lock, that was otherwise a really good face shrine.
Looking at my timer, I think I just used like 1 minute just because the soft lock.
Yeah, that's
that's horrible. I think that is the first time that happened to me in a marathon run or race. Whatever, it's okay.
Alright, so coming up is a really big Jesus Jump segment. First off, he does his bomb trigger right here. Again, just like the other bomb trigger that he did, this only saves like about a couple seconds. Okay, so what he's doing right here is, as soon as he jumps off the ledge, he opens up the save and quit menu so that he can move while he's falling down, and then he does a bunch of Jesus jumps, and this is what makes this route extremely risky to go for, because again, this only saves about maybe 20 to 26 seconds if your Jesus jumps are really good. So that was otherwise a really good Jesus jump escape. Sometimes, you know, for some people it would take like multiple buffers, because it's usually better to time your buffers early than being too late, because if you're being too late, you would fall in the water. So now he's gonna go for another bomb trigger right here. This is called Walrus Skip, and normally you're supposed to get Marin to wake up the walrus right here, but getting Marin is just way out of the way, so he's doing this bomb trigger right here. What's dangerous about this one is because you're supposed to have Marin for this cutscene. If this is done incorrectly, then you can soft lock the game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And there we go.
And also in this state, you cannot press any button. I mean, select, start, B, and A button. And when you enter to the door, always get to the normal. Oh, so it's okay.
Yeah, so he entered that cave so that he can get his buttons back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, nice.
Also, I don't know what's in that room. Black just shot arrows in there because it's fun to do.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, that mini-boss is the La Mola of Into the Past. You cannot see that because the hitbox is activated before he out like from the sand. Yeah.
Just like Facade, you can beat him before you see him. Alright, so now he's on his way to Dungeon 4, Angler Tunnel. In one really common thing that happens to a bunch of people is that it's really easy, with this path right here, it is really easy to forget to open Angler Tunnel. So he is going to make sure he does that.
Oof, nice. I'm getting a really good RNG from these, what is the name of these enemies? Bokoblins or something like that?
Yeah, these enemies, like, can sometimes get in your way. I believe their spawn points in every screen are the same, but then where they move is random.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so kind of like a Link to the Past, where you just have to read and react for every screen. Alright, so, coming up in this mountain cave that he's about to enter is, I am very impartial to this trick. It's called Obstacle Skip. I am probably, if not the only guy who hates this trick. This saves about a quarter second if he gets this. But it involves jumping over this, dash crystal. Oh, okay, he gets it.
Yeah, I did the backup. The backup. And I think that trick save around 20 frames. It's not a lot of time.
Yeah, it does not save a lot, and then if you fail it, you lose 2 seconds. So
yeah.
Alright, so this is Angler Tunnel. Previously, we used to split this dungeon into 2 visits because it allows you to avoid the very long side quest that happens after you beat this dungeon. The ghost side quests, where you have to take the ghost to his grave. But splitting Dungeon 4 would, skip that. But in this route, because I think it's if Dungeon 4's instrument's not the fourth instrument you get, I think that's how it works.
You mean the road? The reason we do these hits before of the fourth, and why we do this dungeon completely is because we can skip the ghost quest.
Yeah. But in this route, we're doing all of Dungeon 4 now.
Oof, nice.
And okay, that's a very cool super jump. There's another alternative way of doing that super jump that's about 2 seconds slower, but more easier than the way that he did it. And again, killing a few more enemies right here. And this is the hardest boss in the game.
Exactly. Yeah, one spin attack and 2 bomb arrows. Very hard.
Yeah. The reason this boss is very hard is when you're doing this casually without bombs or arrows, all you have to do is go at a certain spot and just match your sword, and that's really it.
Yeah, just because you don't know that you can use the bomb arrows there in castle. Exactly.
But actually, this guy actually does a lot of damage. He actually does 3 hearts of damage if you get hit by him. But there we go. That's Angler Tunnel. So now he's gonna make his way to Dungeon 5, which is probably the hardest dungeon in the run. It's very, as far as surviving is concerned.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dungeon 5 is one of the most difficult dungeons to get optimal times. Because the enemies are RNG, you need to keep the piece of power until the end of the dungeon. It's just really hard. Oof. Okay, nice. And the reason of why I imagine the feathering here is just because it's faster to move in the water.
Yeah, this looks like random mashing, but this actually does save a little bit of time.
Okay, let's see if I can get the piece of power in this screen. No. That's bad. Probably I can get it in the key screen. Here. No. Where is my piece of power game?
Oh, are you behind? Or...
Thank you very much. Okay, there we go.
Okay, there we go. So the reason piece of power saves a lot of time in this dungeon is because there's a lot of walking around involved. Also, it makes a particular trick that he's going to do later on a little bit easier. Alright, so coming up is Master Stalfos. You fight him 4 times in this dungeon. The first and 4th time that you fight him, you use bomb arrows, and then for the 2nd and 3rd time that you fight him, you're going to be using your sword and bombs. Because for some reason, the 1st and 4th time he takes 3 hits, and then the 2nd and 3rd time he takes 2 hits. He shot 4 bomb arrows at him, even though it takes 3, and that actually gives him a key. And this is a very recent route change to this dungeon.
The reason of that is because this is a different route, the newer route of the fight. Because we will use that key in the last screen of the dungeon before the boss. That is a run of 2 or 3 seconds faster than the old road.
Yeah, and it involves a really cool strat. I actually really like this. I can't wait to see it. Alright, so again, he does a very similar setup right here on this fight as to what he did in the 2nd fight, because again, this one takes 2 hits. Okay, so he super jumps over those blocks in order to get to this pool of water.
I couldn't get the bloppers deboost. It's okay. Oh, I get the day jump.
Alright, nice. That is that's called dumb jump because it's usually very difficult to do. There is a setup that guarantees that you're on the right pixel to get that jump. But even then, it can still cause people trouble. But that allows him to get the boss key without needing the item of the dungeon, the hookshot. So now he's gonna go back to fight Master Stalfos the 4th time.
Oh, nice RNG there.
Oh, nice. So Helmosaurs are usually usually like a huge pain to deal with, and that's because you can only attack them from behind. Interesting trick with Helmosaurs is that the game only checks to see if you're hitting them on the same direction that they're facing, because the game assumes that you're hitting them from behind. So that is what he was taking advantage of there in the in all the Helmosaur rooms. Alright, so he kills Master Stalfos for the 4th time, and he gets the item of the dungeon, the hookshot. This is a really cool item in this dungeon, or in the game.
Okay.
It also makes killing these Helmosaurs a lot easier. Also, he's been taking he's been taking damage on purpose so he can lose piece of power, and losing piece of power makes the boss of the dungeon easier. All right, so this right here. So what he did right there is it looked really fast. He clipped into the block, and then he just mashed the hook shot in order to go through the pots. So that way he made it to the other side of the room, and now he is already to the boss. And again, that was recently found.
I think just in that place you can do that, where there are those pushable blocks and shards. I don't know another place that you can do that. Okay. Practice design 5. So this is a ill boss, and you just need to pay attention when he get out to attack you, and you can catch him using the hookshot and then use the sword.
It takes 8 hits to beat him.
Yes. Yeah, and also it's totally RNG, by the way.
Yeah, that was really good RNG. Basically, it's a guessing game. You just gotta pick a side, and you have a 50% chance of hoping that he's in the right side. Thankfully, he was nice for both phases. What can happen is if you do enough hits to Slime Eye, then like sometimes when you pull him out, like this fake form comes out, which means that you cannot hit him, and it does lose time. With Piece of Power, it's that boss is more of a pain, because when you have Piece of Power, enemies that take multiple hits to kill have longer iframes. So that's why, like earlier, you saw him take damage on purpose, so he could lose Piece of Power for the boss. I guess we didn't mention, when you have Piece of Power, it lasts until either you transition to the next area, or you get hit 3 times. Alright, so now he's gonna make his way back to the mountain cave, and he's just gonna be climbing the mountain now. Alright, so coming up is round 2 of Obstacle Skip. So, can we be 2 for 2? No pressure.
Okay. Otherwise, the run is invalid. There we go.
So
I got it.
Power drop right there.
I got it. Nice.
Alright, he gets it.
Okay, it's time for the run killer. Can you explain that, Mcham?
Yeah, so this is coming up is Rooster Skip. Normally you're supposed to go back in town to revive a rooster. But what he's going to do is he's going to be doing a series of jumps called hookshot jumping, where you have 1 frame before the hookshot completely retracts to jump. That was pretty good right there. First try is really good, and so it's double frame perfect, and it is probably the hardest trick in the game. For a lot of new runners, it's usually a barrier because of how difficult it is. Because like for most other tricks, it's most other tricks are easy as long as you practice them enough times. But Rooster Skip just never gets easy, especially in a high pressure situation.
Shoutouts to bufferless. Yeah, there is a bufferless. No, buffer strats for the
Yeah,
Rooster
there's a
Skip.
buffered setup for Rooster Skip.
That is very easy, but the problem is you can lose so much time but by pause buffering, because you lose around of 2 seconds but for pause buffering. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's about 8 seconds slower, but it's more consistent.
Nice. Hitting the cutscene.
So yeah, Bow can eat cutscenes, which is extremely broken, and this actually does increase the kill count. So normally, like you would watch Eagle's Tower like turn around, but you don't. No, thank you. It's quite a long cutscene. So Eagle's Tower is a very, very long dungeon. So let's see how he goes through this. Oh, what is this?
Nice.
Bomb triggers break this dungeon. Normally you're supposed to that jump that you did right there is a fairly recent strat. So bomb triggering can break these pillars. Normally you're supposed to carry a ball around to break all these pillars, but instead bombs can just as easily do that. And now we're basically almost done with this dungeon. So what do you guys think? That was a long dungeon. Alright, so he picks up these extra bombs, and then this is Goomba surfing. This is a luck-based trick. This saves a little bit of time over the other strat that some other people would go for.
Yeah, if you get the Goomba surfing first try, you can save around 15 seconds. But it's very risky.
He does a super jump, and he hopes that the Goomba is in the right spot, so that way he can clip onto the ledge, and then so that he can get up to the boss quicker. And then what he's doing right here is he's throwing these bombs. 3 bombs kills the evil eagle. Previously, runners would do Dungeon 8 first before Eagle's Tower, because so that you could use the item from Dungeon 8 to defeat this boss instead, because it's a lot easier. But 3 bombs can easily beat this guy.
Okay, we are reaching to the incentive. So we need to know what option won, save Marine or kill Marine. I need to know that.
What is it?
Practically, you can save Marine in the bridge.
Are we saving Marin?
Yeah. I need to know that.
I'm not sure, you'd have to ask Joe. Joe, are you there?
Joe!
Oh no!
I might be able to check, but
Hold on, let me check the, I'm gonna check the tracker.
Okay.
it looks like you are killing Marin.
Okay. Okay. Okay, see ya, Marin.
Yeah, confirmed. Killing Marin.
See ya,
Let
Marin.
her die.
And the thing is, saving Marin is 45 seconds slower. So
Yeah.
it's really good to kill Marin in the runs. So see ya, Marin.
Yeah, when you save Marin tries to confess to you, but then Terran, like all dads do, they ruin the moment, and then the owl shows up because why not? So, yeah. Alright, so this is Flame Skip right here. Normally you're supposed to get the level 2 shield from Eagle Tower to get past those fireballs, but if you wall clip into the wall, you don't get knocked back as far while you're going through the fire. It's a bit of a risky. It's pretty risky because you can take a lot of damage while you're doing Flame Skip. But as long as your movement's pretty good, then you should be able to make it out of there just fine. Also, bomb triggering the Turtle Rock, and you know the Turtle Rock has a pretty good hitbox, so you can go through him. You don't have to fight him. This is Bookshot here in Turtle Rock. There's about a 2-pixel window for this. So what he's doing is staying at just the right pixel, and then
My bad.
All right, so he's gonna try again.
Okay, again.
So the reason it's called Bookshot is because your hookshot has to be on B in order for this to work.
Okay, there we go.
And there we go.
Ay,
So the most important thing is if you accidentally, for whatever reason, go back up, then you're completely stuck. Alright, so this is Blano, and Blano is a very hard boss. What can happen is he has this certain punch attack move, and if he hits you with it, he just sends you back in the beginning of the dungeon.
yeah, that happened to the people playing this game casually. I have saw that many times. People playing this game casually. It's happened. In rounds, never happened. Okay.
When's Blano skip? Good question. Alright, so what he's doing right here is called Lava Dive. Where it's similar to Jesus jumping, you pause on the same frame that you're about to fall in lava, and then you transition, and then the game just allows you to swim in lava.
Really, dude? Ay.
Aw, okay. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Fires are a huge pain because when you try to hit them when you're close to them, they just fly away. Alright, so this is Cue Ball. He was the mini boss in Angler Tunnel, but you never saw him. In this dungeon, this dungeon is normally really long because you have to fight a lot of mini bosses. Obviously we're doing a bunch of things to break this dungeon apart. And now we have the Roomba. There's a lot of different possibilities for clearing up this room. I think it's like 20-ish different combinations, and every runner usually has their own way of clearing this room. And that was one of the ways that he just did it. And so now we're about to come up to the boss of Turtle Rock. First he has a something called Lava Jump, which again, similar to Jesus Jump right here. And this allows him to be clipped into the wall so he can do a super jump into the boss door. And this is Hothead. Hothead is a great boss.
Oh. Okay. Very bad.
Yeah, so his iframes make no sense, and like sometimes it takes like a bunch of hits to beat him, or it takes like maybe 5. It makes no sense. Oh, and here's hopefully he gets this. This is oh, ooh, nice. This is called Wang Boys. You can see why.
Nah, just spam dicks in the chat, guys. Why not?
Yeah.
It's the Link's dick. Why not? Okay.
Alright, so that's all the instruments, and now he's on his way to the final area.
Really?
Oh no.
Very nice. Good game. Good game.
So when you kill 12 enemies without getting hit, then a Guardian Acorn spawns. Well, at least it guarantees you're not gonna die while making your way to the egg. Oh. Alright, so we're gonna get some quiet time for this next cutscene.
Drinking water. I stayed hydrated. And actually, this is the best music in the game. I like it a lot. So
Oh, yeah.
enjoy it, guys. Well, normally here in the second, you need the Ocarina plus Marine Song for open the egg. But here we open the egg using, well, you know, the bomb triggers.
Yeah. So coming up now, there's a lot to explain. First off, in this egg dungeon, you're normally supposed to go to the library. Well, you're normally supposed to get the magnifying lens, go to the library, and then it tells you a code on how to get this egg. But if you've never done that, then the path is always the same here in the egg. Then we have the final boss, Nightmare. Nightmare has a lot of phases, so what he's going to try and do here is he's going to perform a bomb trigger by mashing bombs. And then he's going to stand at a very particular pixel, and hopefully he gets it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, he got it. So that saves having to use powder on the blob phase. Then we have Aghanim. In A Link to the Past, you can get 15 blue balls. In this game, you can get an infinite amount of blue balls. The first 2 shots are always the same, but then every other hit now is a 50-50 chance. There's kind of a way to manipulate this, but I don't really know it too well.
There is no, it's totally RNG. There is no manipulation for this.
There is none? Okay. So we got 1 blue ball.
Oh, good. 1 blue ball. That is really good.
Yeah. That's awesome. Alright, so then we have Moldorm again. He's standing at a spot right here, so we can set up this spin slash so we can stun lock Moldorm. And there we go. And then now we have Ganon. You just dash into him 12 times. And then after that is the Landmola's phase, which is a very hard phase. Boom, 1 spin attack, and then now we have Deathel. So this takes 16 arrows to beat him. And when he opens his eyes is completely random.
Come on, dude.
Also, it is important not to run out of arrows or die. So you can get 4 arrows, or if you're really good, you can get 5 arrows. I've only done that like once ever, and there we go. That's a pretty good fight. So time's coming up when he transitions into the stairs.
Yeah, this is a new one. Arrow in your ass. Why not? Okay, yeah. There we go. Okay, time is coming up. And time. Nice.
GG.
54:53, really good time.
Yeah, good time for a marathon with a soft log in the seats, but a horrible run.
That's like probably the only major mistake in the run.
Okay. Okay, so this was Link's Awakening DX. I hope you could enjoy the run. And also, tomorrow I will do another run in this marathon. Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Maria only or rolling deep, because Maria can roll. Okay, that is. Thank you very much for watching my run, and thank you, Encham, for commenting my run. Thank you, dude.
Yeah,
Thanks
no
for
problem.
submitting.
Yeah, thank you for that, Black.
Okay,
And,
there he is.
And M-Chan, of course, for the roll and deep commentary as well.
Thank you. The world record has recently been set today, 52 minutes by Sai Sai.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we're getting really close to the 51-minute mark for this category. It's insane.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming.